Good morning, dear students. I'm Dr. Lina with you. I'm your lecturer now for this lesson, Typical Research Article Structure. Before moving to know how to collect resources or how to choose your topic, you have to know first what are the structures of your paper, of any paper, in any field of study. So today we will go to know every single block or step to build this structure for any paper. Today we have what is the structure of any research paper. Look at those blocks. Look at those blocks. Something that by which we can build our paper. The first block is the abstract section. Then we have introduction. Then we have literature review, methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, and references. All of those blocks work together to build the structures of your research paper. Let's start with the abstract. Most of the students leave the abstract at the end of the paper of their work so that they can have a good view on what they have done already. What is their problem? What is the hypothesis? Whatever. And most of the students didn't differentiate between the abstract and introduction. Most of them come and ask that, Doctor, what can I say? What can I write? How can I form my abstract? How can I form my introduction? Is it necessary to add abstract if I'm already have make an introduction section? No. Abstract and introduction are not the same. Both are needed. For abstract is what an abstract summarizes, usually in one paragraph of 300 words or less. The major aspects of the entire paper, a prescribed sequence that includes: number 1, the overall purpose of the study and the research problems you investigated. This is the first thing that you have to include. Second, the basic design of the study, introduction of methodology. You have to mention your methodology within this abstract section. Number 3, major findings or trends found as a result of your analysis. So after you have analyzed your data, you have to reach certain results, so you have to discuss those results in a brief. Finally, a brief summary of your interpretations and conclusions. A very brief summary for your conclusion. This is the final point that you have to mention in your abstract. Now we move to the second section in your paper. It is introduction, and here we have the second block. Introduction. The introduction leads the reader from a general subject area to a particular topic of inquiry. It establishes the scope, context, and significance of the research being conducted by summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic, stating the purpose of the work in the form of the research problem supported by a hypothesis or a set of questions, explaining briefly the methodological approach used to examine the research problem, highlighting the potential outcomes your study can reveal, and outlining and outlining the remaining structure and organization of the paper. So you see that introduction section is different from our abstract. In the introduction, you have to say something from the background information of your topic. What is before your topic started? What is the topic that is somehow more general than your specific topic? You can see here the difference. It is something like a chat, a very small chat between the professor and his student. Most of the students, they ask the same question: why is my abstract so long? So aren't both the same? Okay, means abstract and introduction. Aren't both the same? Is it necessary to write abstract in addition to introduction if I have already written one of them? So this part should go under abstract, not introduction. So this is the advice of the professor. This means that if your abstract is so long, this means it is introduction. Because as we have said already, that our abstract is about 300, from 150 to 300. Now we move to the difference. The difference is, here we have some points that by which we can differentiate between what is meant by abstract and what is meant by introduction. As for the abstracts, as we have already explained, helps the reader to find the pertinent information very quickly. Its length is between 150 to 300 words. It is divided into sections, clearly defined by headings as follows. So it is divided into sections. The first section that you have to include within your abstract is the background, the latest information on the topic, key phrases that pique interest. For example, the role of this enzyme has never been clearly understood. So here you are starting your topic by making a background information about the enzyme. Objective. What are your objectives? Your goals, aims, what the study examined and why. Then you move to the methods. Brief description of the study. Retrospective study. Of course, you have also to mention your problem before the methodology. Then we have the results. Of course, after you apply your methodology on the data that you have chosen or the problem to make a remedy for it, then you've got results, right? Findings and observations. You have to write down a summary about your findings and observations. Finally, you have to put the conclusion where these results expected, whether more research is needed or not. So, what you have already learned from the whole of your work. Introduction. What is the difference here? Introduction is the first section in your paper with the detailed background on the research topic. Number 1, it presents the purpose and the importance of the study. It explains the hypothesis of the study. It is written in formal present tense. Look at the tense, also it is important. It does not include information on the method, results, and conclusion. Have nothing to do with those things here of the current study. Its length is generally up to 4 paragraphs. Most is to 4 paragraphs. Here we have the new block. After introduction, we have the literature review. Literature review, or some of the students call it a theoretical review, theoretical part of your paper. What is meant by literature review? This section aims at making a survey on the past contributions of other researchers, what other scholars have written on the same topic. So you have to say some history about your topic. What are the scholars? Who are the scholars who have written already on your topic? A literature review is a survey of scholarly sources, such as books, journal articles, and theses. On a particular topic, it gives an overview of key findings, concepts, and developments in relation to a research problem or question. A good literature review, here they give us a criteria for good literature review. Doesn't just summarize sources. It aims to analyze, interpret, and critically evaluate the literature. Synthesize sources to highlight patterns, themes, conflicts, and gaps. Finally, show the state of current knowledge in relation to the central research question or hypothesis. Let's move to the methodology. After we have already mentioned the literature review, I have to go to my methodology. What is meant by methodology? It means the method that I plan to follow in my analysis or in my practical part of the work. The methodology or methods section explains what you did and how you did it, allowing readers to evaluate the reliability and validity of the research. It should include, number 1, the type of the research you did, how you collect and or selected your data, how you analyze your data, any tools or materials you used in the research, your rationale for choosing these methods. So we have a number of things that you have to talk about in your methodology section. You have to put a section for your methodology, and this methodology you have to explain in it everything related to your work, your data, your model of analysis, how you analyze them, how you collect them, how you enumerate them and make sections for them. Every single step you have done in your paper, in your analysis, you have to mention them in this methodology section. Before the final step, you have results and discussions. We have the block of results and discussions. It is not conclusion. Also, here we have a difference between results and discussion and the conclusion. Most of the students are distracted between them. So this block, results and discussion, as long as you have already completed your analysis, of course you have reached certain results. For example, results, once you finish collecting and analyzing your data, you can begin writing up the results section of your paper. This is where you report the main findings of your research and briefly observe how they relate to your research question and hypothesis. Of course, within each single step, I have to match between what I have already get from my analysis and what is its connection with my hypothesis and the problem at the very beginning of my research when I have mentioned them in my abstract. So I have to make a contact between my hypothesis and the results that I have already reached. And in the section of the results and discussion, it includes every result that you have reached, whether it is a statistical results or whether it is something that is related to language. You can mention and put every single statistical analysis or whatever in this section, and you can discuss it. But in the discussion, these are the results. What about the discussion? This section is where you reach search into the meaning, importance, and relevance of your results. That's what I told you about. This means how after you have reached certain statistical, for example, results, you have to make a contact between those statistical results and your hypothesis. You have to discuss those results. Numbers and statistics has no sense without this discussion. Means nothing without explaining them and explain the connection between your results and the main aim and the problem and hypothesis of your paper. It should focus on explaining and evaluating what you found, showing how it relates to your literature review and research question, and making an argument in support of your overall conclusion. There are many different ways to write this section. So here they give you ways of writing this section, but you can focus on your paper around 4 key elements. Number 1, interpretations, implications, limitations, and recommendations. As for interpretations, what do the results mean? It doesn't mean something without discussing them. The results, it needs to be discussed. Implications. Why do the results matter? Limitations. What can the results tell us? What are the results? What are the things that results fail to tell us? We can reach by them. The answer. Recommendations. What practical actions or scientific studies should follow? Those are the questions that you have to answer with your discussion. The final block, we have conclusion. That is different from results and discussion. It is a separate section. The conclusion has 3 parts: introduction, evaluation, and conclusion. In the introduction, in which the researcher reviews the findings discussed and the outcomes and stake the claim. Evaluation, in which the researcher explains the results found. Finally, in the conclusion part, that includes the limitation and recommendation of the study. So, conclusion is the very last part of your thesis or dissertation. Its main purpose are to clearly state the answer to the main research question, summarize and reflect on the research, make recommendations for future work on the topic, show what new knowledge you have contributed, what is the new knowledge in your contribution. Okay, so this is about the conclusion. Also, we have a difference between discussion section and conclusion, and it is very clear here in this in these some points. Here we have discussion means result and discussion section, and conclusion refers to the conclusion section. The high bottom or the high part of this post, we have interpret your results, where in the results and discussion you have to interpret your results, compare your results with these from previous studies. You can make a comparison, discuss the limitations of your results, highlight unexpected results if any, mention how your results add value to those from previous studies. Okay, these are the points that are very important to the discussion. As for the conclusion, it is in the second part of this post, related to the conclusion section. Restart your hypothesis. So here we have to contact with my hypothesis. Restart with your most important findings. Highlight limitations for your study. Highlight the overall significance of your study, and then state future direction. So this is the last section you have, and finally, and after those parts and the structure, and after you have already know now the structures of your research paper, you are now as a blank page to start. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all